I'd been invisible for 9 months, cleaning Kim Woo Shik's penthouse like a ghost. Then 2 men beat me unconscious 3 blocks from his door. I thought I could hide it, layer on makeup, lie about the bruises. But when the most feared mafia boss in Seoul finally looked at me and asked, "Who did this to you?" everything changed. They wanted to send a message. Instead, they gave him a reason to start a war. This is the story of how 4 minutes of violence, $500,000 in debt, and 1 fractured rib led to the most dangerous love I never saw coming. My name is Mercy Johnson, and I'm the reason Seoul is about to bleed. Before we begin, K-Soul fam, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts. Quick question. Do you think Mercy just sparked a war or saved herself? Tell me in the comments. The rain hit like fists. That's what I kept thinking as I ran, that the rain felt like being hit all over again. My sneakers were soaked through, water squishing between my toes with each step. 2 more blocks. Just 2 more blocks to the metro, and I'd be safe. Behind me, footsteps. Getting closer. I told myself it was nothing. Seoul was a big city. Lots of people walked these streets at night. But when I glanced back, 2 figures cut through the rain with purpose that made my stomach drop. I quickened my pace. My bag bounced against my hip, heavy with the day's exhaustion. "Hey." The voice sliced through the downpour. English, but with that soul edge. "You stop." Every muscle in my body screamed run, but my legs turned to concrete. I spun around slowly, heart hammering so hard I could taste it. 2 men. Hard eyes. Rain streaming down faces that belonged in nightmares. The bald one stepped closer, and his eyes, God, his eyes were empty. "Where you going so fast?" "Home." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Please, I don't want trouble." "No trouble." He smiled, but it was all teeth and malice.
His gaze dropped to my chest.
To the gray polo shirt beneath my jacket. To the small embroidered logo there. His smile died.
"Wait."
"That uniform, you work at that building in Hanamdong, don't you?" "The big one." Ice flooded my veins. "I don't know what you're." He grabbed my collar, yanked me forward so hard the air left my lungs. "Don't lie. I've seen that logo. You work for Kim Woo Shik." "I'm just a cleaner," I said desperately. "I just clean apartments I don't know anything about. Just a cleaner." The bald man laughed, ugly and cold. He looked at his companion, taller, broader, silent. "She works for Kim. You know what that means." The tall one's expression changed. Something dark crossed his features, and I knew with absolute certainty that I was in serious trouble. "Please," I whispered. "Please just let me go." "We have a message for your boss," the bald man said, pulling me closer. His breath smelled like soju and cigarettes. "About who really owns these streets. About what happens when people forget their place." The first punch came from nowhere. Pain exploded across my cheekbone, white-hot and blinding. I staggered backward, but hands grabbed my arms before I could fall. Fingers dug into my flesh hard enough that I felt something crack beneath the pressure. "This is what happens," the bald man hissed in my ear, "when people think they can just walk through our territory like they own it. When they think working for Kim makes them untouchable." The second hit caught my ribs. Then another. And another. I tried to scream, but a palm clamped over my mouth. I tasted copper and rain and pure terror. "Tell your boss," the man said, punctuating each word with violence, "that Itaewon belongs to us now. Tell him the Choi family doesn't forget. Tell him." Something cracked in my chest. The pain was so intense, everything went white, then gray, then black. I woke up on wet pavement. Every breath felt like knives. My left eye wouldn't open. Through my one working eye, I could see the station ahead, its lights wavering through rain and tears. "Get up.
Move.
Get home." Somehow I did. The next morning, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and barely recognized myself. My left eye had swollen completely shut, purple and black spreading across the socket like a disease. My bottom lip was split open, crusted with dried blood. When I lifted my shirt, my entire left side was a canvas of bruises, red and purple and yellow, each one a reminder. I touched my ribs gently and gasped. Something was definitely broken. Mercy? My brother Daniel knocked on the bathroom door. You okay in there? We're going to be late. I looked at the makeup on the counter. Foundation, concealer, powder. I'd need all of it and more. I'm good. I called back and started layering on concealer thick enough to pass for a mask. 20 minutes later, I emerged. Daniel took one look at my face and went pale. Jesus Christ, Mercy, what happened? I fell. The lie I'd practiced.
Metro stairs.
They get slippery when it rains. That's not from falling. Daniel moved closer, his chef's eyes cataloging every injury. Someone did this to you. Who?
When?
Why didn't you call me? They took my phone. Remember? I grabbed my jacket carefully, trying not to wince. It was just a mugging, Daniel. Wrong place, wrong time.
I'm okay.
You're not looking good. You can barely breathe. His voice cracked. We need to go to the hospital. We can't afford it. My voice broke too. I can't afford it. The payment on Dad's debt is due in 2 weeks, and I'm already short $4,000. I can't add hospital bills on top of that. Daniel's face crumpled, but he didn't argue. We both knew the math. Our father's kidney failure had cost $500,000 before he died, and the hospital didn't care that he was gone. The debt remained, patient and hungry, eating our wages month after month. At least let me drive you, Daniel said quietly. I accepted because the metro stairs felt impossible this morning. Kim Woo Shik's penthouse occupied the top floors of a tower in Hanam-dong that touched the sky. All glass and steel and views that stretched across the Han River like a promise of power. I'd been cleaning it for 9 months, moving through rooms that cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. I was invisible here. That was the point. That was how you survived working for a man like Kim Woo Shik. I'd learned his patterns. Heard his footsteps on the stairs, measured and deliberate, and knew to be elsewhere. Caught glimpses of him through doorways. Perfect hair, expensive suits, eyes the color of dark whiskey that never quite landed on me. He held meetings with men who spoke in low voices. I cleaned up after them, emptied ashtrays, collected glasses still wet with imported liquor. I didn't ask questions. My job was to disappear. But today something was different. Today Kim was home when he shouldn't be. I was polishing the marble banister on the second floor, moving slowly to avoid pulling at my damaged ribs, when I heard footsteps behind me. Not the housekeeper. Not Daniel. These were different. Measured. Deliberate. Dangerous. You're here late.
The voice made me jump.
I turned, biting back a gasp as my ribs protested, and found Kim Woo Shik standing 10 feet away. Up close, he was even more intimidating than glimpses suggested. 6'2", broad-shouldered, with a face that belonged on magazine covers if magazines featured men who controlled half of Seoul's underworld. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to his elbows. And for the first time in 9 months, his dark eyes were looking directly at me. Actually seeing me. I'm finishing up, Mr. Kim. I managed, turning my head to hide my damaged left side. I'll be out of your way in a few minutes. Silence. I could feel his gaze on me like a physical weight. Then footsteps. Coming closer. Look at me. Not a request. Not quite an order. Something in between that made me obey before I decided to. I lifted my face. Let him see what makeup couldn't hide. Kim went absolutely still. His eyes tracked across my swollen eye, my split lip, the bruises makeup couldn't quite cover. Something flickered in his expression. There and gone so fast I almost missed it. What happened to your face? The question landed like a physical blow.
Direct.
Unavoidable. I fell, I said. The lie tasting like ash.
Metro stairs.
They get slippery when it rains. You fell.
His voice was flat.
Emotionless. He stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell cedar and something expensive. Which side did you fall on? The question confused me. What? Left or right? Which side hit the stairs?
Left.
I think. You think. He circled slowly, like a predator examining prey. But you're favoring your left side when you breathe. Protecting it. So you fell on your left, hit your left eye, split your lip, and now your left ribs hurt. He stopped in front of me again. That's a very consistent fall. Heat flooded my face. Yes. Show me your arms. Mr. Kim, I really need to. Show me your arms. Now. My hands trembled as I set down the cleaning cloth. This was my employer. I couldn't refuse. Didn't want to for reasons I couldn't examine too closely. I pushed at my right sleeve first. Just some scrapes across the forearm. The other one. I hesitated. The left arm told a different story. But Kim waited with infinite patience, and eventually I pushed up that sleeve too. The bruises were spectacular. Perfect finger-shaped marks circling my bicep where someone had grabbed me. Purple and yellow and angry red. Unmistakable. Kim stared at them for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice had dropped to something cold and deadly. Who did this to you? I told you I... Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't lie to me again. Those are not from a fall. Someone grabbed you. Held you. His eyes met mine. Where did this happen? The use of my name shocked me into silence. I hadn't known he knew it. 3 blocks from here, I said. Thursday night. Walking to the metro. What did they take? My bag.
Phone.
Wallet. I swallowed hard. And then they saw my uniform. My voice cracked. Asked if I worked for you. I said no, but they didn't believe me. What did they say? Kim's voice was soft, but something dangerous lurked underneath. They said it was a message. That Itaewon belongs to them now. That working for you doesn't make people untouchable. I touched my swollen eye gently. They said to tell the boss that the Choi family doesn't forget. The silence that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Kim's jaw tightened, the only visible sign of whatever was happening behind those dark eyes. Then he moved to his desk, pressed a button on the phone.
Yivan.
My office.
Now.
Mr. Kim, please, I started. I don't want to cause trouble. Sit down. I should really finish. Sit down. Not angry. Just absolute. The voice of someone who expected obedience and received it. I sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk, feeling small and exposed. My ribs throbbed with each breath, reminding me that I was hurt, vulnerable, in the office of one of Seoul's most dangerous men because someone had used me as a message board. Jiwon arrived within 3 minutes. A man in his late 30s with silver threading his dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. He took one look at my face and went completely still. 3 blocks from here, Kim said without preamble. Thursday night.
2 men.
They saw her uniform and decided to deliver a message from the Choi family. Jiwon's expression turned to stone. Where exactly? Between the dry cleaner and the convenience store, I supplied quietly. Around 10:15. We have cameras in that area. Jiwon pulled out his phone. I'll pull the footage now. Do that. Kim's voice dropped even lower. And Jiwon, find them. I want them here by midnight. Consider it done. Jiwon left as quickly as he'd arrived. The door clicked shut and I was alone with Kim again. The silence stretched unbearably until I couldn't stand it anymore. This isn't necessary, I said.
I've fine.
It was just a mugging. It wasn't a mugging. Kim finally looked at me, and there was something in his expression that made my breath catch. They attacked you because you work for me. In my territory. On my street. That makes it personal. I'm just a housekeeper. You work in my home. He moved around the desk, sat in the chair beside mine instead of behind it.
Close.
Equal. You've been here 9 months. I noticed things, Mercy. My throat tightened. What things? How you organize my books by author without being asked. How you fold the newspapers so the headlines face up. How you water the orchids in my office every Tuesday because they need consistent care.
He paused.
How you take every overtime shift offered. How you never complain. Never ask for anything. I need the money, I whispered. I know. Medical bills. Your father. His eyes searched my face. $500,000. Kidney failure. He died 18 months ago, but the debt doesn't care. Of course he knew. He probably knew everything about everyone who worked for him. So you understand? I continued. Why this isn't worth your time. Why you should just let it go.
No.
Kim leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't understand that at all. What I understand is that someone hurt one of my people as a message to me. And in my world, mercy, messages like that require responses. Loud responses. The way he said my people made something warm and dangerous unfurl in my chest. What will you do to them? I asked quietly. What needs to be done? Before I could respond, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a new iPhone, still in its box. You'll need this, he said, handing it to me. Your number's already transferred. Password is your birthday. I stared at the phone. How do you know my birthday? I know everything about the people who work in my home. He stood, offered me his hand.
Come.
You're not cleaning anything else today. You're going to rest until this is handled. I took his hand before I decided to. His grip was firm, careful, and he pulled me to my feet with effortless strength. For a moment we stood too close, his hand still holding mine, and the air between us felt charged with something I didn't understand. Then he released me and stepped back. This way. Quick check-in, Seoul fam. Are you team protective mafia boss or team mercy should run? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This story is about to get intense. The guest room he showed me to was larger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, furniture that looked like it belonged in a palace, a bed so big it could sleep 4 people comfortably. Rest, Kim said from the doorway. Jiwon will need time to pull the footage and locate the men who did this. I want you here, safe, until it's handled. I should really finish my work. That wasn't a suggestion. His tone allowed no argument. You're injured. You'll rest. He left before I could protest further, the door clicking shut with quiet finality. I sank into the chair by the window because my legs were shaking and my ribs screamed with every movement. Through the glass, I watched Seoul spread out below like a glittering promise. Somewhere in that city, 2 men who'd beaten me were going about their lives, not knowing that Kim Woo Shik now knew their names. Not knowing what was coming for them. Daniel appeared 20 minutes later, carrying a tray with tea and food I hadn't asked for. He set it on the side table, then perched on the arm of my chair. Okay, what the hell is happening? He kept his voice low. Kim just personally escorted you upstairs. Jiwon is running around looking like someone declared war, and you're sitting in the nicest guest room like you're actually a guest instead of staff. He knows about the attack, I said quietly. He saw my face, asked questions. I couldn't keep lying. And he's taking it personally, Daniel. The men who attacked me, they recognized my uniform. They knew I worked here. They said it was a message for Kim. Daniel's face went pale. That's why he's losing his mind. That's why Jiwon is pulling security footage and mobilizing half the organization. He said they hurt one of his people. That it requires a response. Mercy. Daniel grabbed my hand. Do you understand what that means in this world? A response isn't filing a police report. He trailed off, unable or unwilling to finish. I knew what he meant. I'd heard the whispers over 9 months of working here. Knew what kind of man Kim Woo Shik was. What kind of business he ran. Knew that people who crossed him had a tendency to disappear. I know, I whispered. And you're okay with that?
Was I?
Should I be? 2 men had beaten me unconscious and left me in the rain like garbage. Now Kim was mobilizing his entire organization to find them, and I suspected finding them was just the beginning. I don't know, I admitted. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. Daniel was quiet for a moment, then squeezed my hand. Just be careful. This world, his world, it's not like ours. And now you're in it whether you meant to be or not. After he left, I tried to rest. Tried to close my eyes and forget about everything. But every time I started to drift off, I saw fists coming toward my face. Felt hands grabbing my arms. Heard voices saying, "Tell your boss." Around 7 p.m., there was a knock at my door. "Come in," I called. Kim entered carrying a leather folder. His expression was grim. "We have them," he said without preamble. "The men who attacked you. We have them on video and we have their names." My heart jumped into my throat. Already. I have cameras on every street within 5 blocks of this building. Nothing happens in my territory that I don't see. He opened the folder, pulled out printed screenshots from security footage. "I need you to confirm. Is this them?" The images were grainy, but clear enough. Two men emerging from an alley. One bald, one broader. Both wearing dark clothes that blended into the rainy night. That's them, I whispered. Kim's jaw tightened. Their names are Park Sung-ho and Lee Min-jae.
Both work for the Choi family.
Low-level enforcers trying to make names for themselves by pushing into my territory. He pulled out another photo. This is who sent them. The third photo showed an older man, maybe 50, with scars cutting through his left eyebrow. Choi Jin-ho, Kim said. He's been testing my boundaries for months. This was his way of seeing if I'd respond. What are you going to do? Find them. Bring them here. Make it very clear what happens when someone touches what's mine. The way he said mine made my skin prickle. When? I asked. Tonight.
G1 has teams out now.
They'll be here by midnight. He studied my face. I want you to stay. Why? Because you need to see that I protect what's mine. The words hung between us, heavy with implication. I'm not yours, I said quietly. Aren't you? His eyes held mine. You work in my home. You've been part of my life for 9 months, even if I never acknowledged it properly. And now someone hurt you because of me. That makes you mine to protect. That's not how this works. In my world, it's exactly how this works. He moved closer, and the air felt charged. You can leave right now if you want. Walk out that door. I won't stop you. But if you stay, you're accepting that I will handle this my way. And my way isn't calling the police. I should have left. Should have walked out that door, and never looked back. But something kept me rooted to that spot. Maybe it was the way he looked at me, like I was worth starting a war over. Maybe it was the fact that for 9 months I'd been invisible, and now someone finally saw me. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe I just wanted to see what happened to the men who'd left me bleeding in the rain. I'll stay, I whispered. Something flickered in Kim's eyes. Relief. Satisfaction. Something darker. Good. Midnight came with the sound of car doors slamming in the underground garage. I'd been sitting in Kim's office for hours, watching the city lights, when Jiwon appeared in the doorway. We have them, boss. Basement level. Kim stood, buttoned his jacket with deliberate precision. Then he looked at me. Last chance to walk away, Mercy. I stood too, even though my ribs protested. I'm not walking away. The basement was cement and shadows. Harsh fluorescent lights that made everything look sterile and cold. 2 men were bound to chairs in the center of the room. Park Sung-ho and Lee Min-jae. When they saw me, recognition flashed in their eyes. Kim positioned himself between them and me, a wall of controlled violence. You touched something that belongs to me, he said. His voice was ice. Pure and deadly. It was just business. Park Sung-ho said quickly. Nothing personal. Choi wanted to send a message. You made it personal when you left her bleeding in the rain. Kim's tone never changed. Never rose. That somehow made it more terrifying. When you put your hands on her. When you broke her rib and split her lip and made her afraid to walk home at night. We were just following orders. I don't care about your orders. Kim circled them slowly. I care that you thought you could touch one of my people without consequence. That you thought delivering a message was worth more than her safety. He stopped directly in front of Park. You were wrong. What happened next was surgical. Calculated. Kim didn't lose control, didn't raise his voice. He was methodical, in a way that made my stomach turn. He didn't kill them. That would bring police attention. But he made sure they'd never forget. Ji-won and 2 others delivered the actual violence, while Kim watched with the detachment of someone conducting a business meeting. And through it all, he kept glancing back at me, checking if I was still there, still watching.
I was.
I couldn't look away. When it was over, Kim returned to where I stood. His hands were clean. His suit was still perfect. But his eyes held a question. This is who I am, he said quietly. If you can't accept that, tell me now. I should have been horrified. Should have run. But all I could think about was how these men had grabbed me, hurt me, left me bleeding. And now they'd never do it to anyone else. I'm not afraid of you, I said. Maybe you should be. Maybe. I held his gaze. But I'm not. Something shifted in his expression. Something that made my heart race for entirely different reasons.
Come, he said.
You need to see a doctor. The private physician arrived within the hour. Dr. Han was professional and efficient, examining me with gentle hands while Kim watched from across the room like a hawk. Fractured sixth rib left side, Dr. Han confirmed. You'll need 6 weeks of rest and pain management. No heavy lifting. No strenuous activity. He looked at Kim. She needs to stay somewhere she can be monitored. She'll stay here, Kim said before I could protest. After Dr. Han left prescriptions and instructions, Kim personally helped me back to the guest room. His hand was careful on my elbow, supporting me without pressure. I can't stay here for 6 weeks, I said. I have work. I have bills. You're not paying for anything. Kim guided me to sit on the edge of the bed. Your medical expenses are covered. Your salary continues. And you're staying here where I can make sure you're safe. Why? The question came out broken. Why do you care? I'm just a housekeeper. You organize my books by author, he said quietly. You fold newspapers with headlines up. You water the orchids every Tuesday. He crouched in front of me so we were eye level. You think I don't notice you, Mercy. But I notice everything about you. My breath caught. How long? 9 months. Since the day you started. His eyes held mine. I've been watching you disappear into corners, make yourself invisible. And I let you because it was easier. Safer.
But now.
He trailed off. Now what? Now I can't unsee you. The air between us felt electric. Dangerous. Full of possibilities I didn't know how to name. I should rest, I whispered, because I didn't know what else to say. Kim stood, and for a moment his hand lingered on my shoulder. If you need anything at all, I'm 3 doors down. Okay. He left, and I was alone with my racing heart and the realization that everything had changed. 2 a.m. found me awake, staring at the ceiling because sleep felt impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the basement.
Heard the sounds.
Felt the weight of Kim's gaze checking if I was still there. I shouldn't have stayed. Shouldn't have watched. But I had, and now I couldn't unknow what I knew about him. About myself. I found him in his office, working despite the late hour. He looked up when I appeared in the doorway, surprise crossing his features. Can't sleep? He asked.
No.
I moved into the room slowly. Can I ask you something? Anything. How many people have you hurt? Like tonight? He didn't flinch from the question. More than I can count. Does it bother you? It used to. He set down his pen, gave me his full attention. Now it's just part of who I am. Part of maintaining power and protecting what's mine. And I'm yours to protect now. Yes. The certainty in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it made something warm unfurl in my chest. I don't understand this, I said. Any of this. Why you care. Why I stayed. Why I'm not more horrified by what I saw tonight. Maybe, Kim said quietly, because you know they deserved it. Because you understand that in this world, justice doesn't come from police reports and court dates. It comes from people willing to do what's necessary. Is that what you tell yourself?
No.
He stood, moved around the desk. I don't need to tell myself anything. I know what I am, Mercy. The question is, do you? I think. I swallowed hard. I think I'm starting to. We stood there in his office, the city lights casting shadows across his face, and something passed between us that felt like recognition. Like we were seeing each other clearly for the first time. Tell me about your father, Kim said suddenly.
The debt.
So I did. Told him about the kidney failure, the mounting medical bills, the desperate attempts to save him. About how he died anyway, and the hospital still wanted their money. About working every overtime shift, skipping meals, choosing between rent and debt payments. Kim listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I'll pay it, he said finally.
What? No.
I can't. It's done. Consider it handled. His tone left no room for argument. You've been drowning for 18 months, Mercy. Let me pull you out. Why would you do that? Because you matter to me.
He said it simply.
Like it was obvious. More than you should. More than is safe. My heart was racing so fast I thought he might hear it. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you've been in my life for 9 months. I know you make yourself invisible because you think it's safer. I know you take care of things without being asked. I know you're drowning in debt and still somehow find ways to care about orchids and newspaper headlines. He moved closer. I know that watching you hurt made me want to burn this city down.
Kim
Woo Shik, he corrected softly. When we're alone, it's Woo Shik. Woo Shik. His name felt strange on my tongue. Intimate. This is dangerous. Everything about me is dangerous. He was close enough now that I could feel his warmth. But I think you knew that already. And you stayed anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I. His hand came up, cupped my uninjured cheek with surprising gentleness. But I know I don't want you to disappear anymore. When he kissed me, it was careful, tender, like I might break. And maybe I was already breaking, had been breaking since the moment he looked at me and asked who did this to you. I kissed him back, and it felt like falling, like burning, like the most dangerous choice I'd ever made. We pulled apart slowly, both breathing hard. You should rest, he said, though he didn't move away. Probably. This changes everything, you know that? I know. You won't be invisible anymore. People will know you matter to me. That makes you a target. I'm already a target, I reminded him. That's how this started. This is different. He stopped himself. I'll protect you. But you need to understand what you're getting into. Then tell me, I said. Tell me everything.
So he did.
We talked until sunrise. He told me about his world, the territories, the families, the endless chess game of power and violence. Told me about Choi Jin-ho and the decades-long rivalry. About the businesses that weren't really businesses, the money that wasn't clean, the choices that kept him up at night. And I told him about growing up in a world where invisibility was survival. About losing my father and inheriting his debt. About learning to make myself small, quiet, forgettable. You're not forgettable, Woo Shik said as dawn light filtered through the windows. You never were. 3 days later, Choi Jin-ho retaliated. The car bomb went off outside one of Woo Shik's clubs in Gangnam. No casualties. It was meant as a message, same as the attack on me had been. But the message was clear. War was coming. Woo Shik's response was immediate and calculated. Within hours, every Choi family operation in Seoul found itself under siege. Not violently, that would bring police attention. But businesses mysteriously lost their licenses. Suppliers suddenly refused to deliver. Protection money stopped flowing. I watched it unfold from Woo Shik's office, seeing the chess game play out in real time. He'll want to meet, Jiwon said during one of their strategy sessions. Talk terms before this escalates further. Let him want, Woo Shik replied coldly. He touched what's mine. He doesn't get terms. But 3 days later, the meeting happened anyway. Neutral Ground, a high-end restaurant in Jongno, the kind where power brokers made deals over expensive wine. I'm coming with you, I said when Woo Shik told me about it. Absolutely not.
He already knows about me.
Hiding me now doesn't change anything. I held his gaze. And I'm not something to be protected and hidden away while you decide my fate. Something shifted in his expression. Pride, maybe. Or respect.
Fine.
But you stay close to me. Always. The restaurant was elegant and cold. Choi Jin-ho sat at a corner table with 2 guards flanking him. He was older than his photo suggested, with scars that told stories and eyes that held no warmth. Woo Shik kept his hand on the small of my back as we approached. Possessive. Protective. Kim Woo Shik, Choi said by way of greeting. His eyes slid to me. And this must be the girl who started a war. The girl you ordered beaten, Woo Shik corrected coldly. Say her name. Mercy Johnson. Choi's smile didn't reach his eyes. My apologies for the misunderstanding. My men were overzealous. Your men broke her rib and left her unconscious in the rain. That's not overzealous. That's deliberate. A message that was perhaps too forcefully delivered. Choi gestured to the empty chairs.
Please. Seat.
Let's discuss how we move forward from this unfortunate incident. The dinner that followed was a dance of veiled threats and careful words. Choi offered compensation, money, territory, apologies. Woo Shik refused everything. You think money fixes this? His voice was soft.
Deadly.
You think I care about territory? Then what do you want? I want you to understand that some lines don't get crossed. Ever. Woo Shik leaned forward. Touch my people again and there won't be a meeting. There won't be negotiations. There will just be an ending. Choi's jaw tightened. You're risking everything over a housekeeper?
I'm establishing boundaries, Woo Shik corrected.
Something you seem to have forgotten exists. The tension at the table was thick enough to choke on. I could feel eyes on me. Choi's guards, other diners who recognized the players at this table. I was the spark that lit this fire, and everyone knew it. She's pretty, Choi said, his gaze sliding to me again. I can see why you'd be protective. But surely we can come to some arrangement that. Her name, Woo Shik interrupted, is Mercy. And she's not part of any arrangement. She's not a bargaining chip. She's the reason I'm showing you the courtesy of this meeting instead of burning your entire operation to the ground. Something flickered in Choi's eyes. Calculation. Reassessment. You've changed, Kim. The old you would have taken my offer and moved on. The old me, Woo Shik said quietly, didn't have anything worth protecting that couldn't be replaced. The weight of those words settled over me like a blanket. Heavy. Suffocating. Terrifying. Choi leaned back in his chair, studied us both. Very well. Your boundaries are noted. Itaewon remains contested territory, but your people, including Miss Johnson, are off limits. He paused. But understand, Kim. This precedent you're setting, it makes you vulnerable. Everyone will know that hurting your people gets a response. That makes them targets. Let them try. Woo Shik stood, helped me to my feet with a hand that trembled slightly, the only sign of how much this was costing him. And let them see what happens after. We left the restaurant in tense silence. In the car, Woo Shik finally let out a breath he'd been holding. That was a mistake, he said quietly. Bringing you there. Letting him see how much you matter. You told him anyway, I pointed out. With your words. With everything you refuse. I know. His hand found mine in the darkness of the back seat. I couldn't help it. The thought of him offering money for what he did to you. I wanted to reach across that table, and he stopped himself. I'm making you a target, Mercy. Everything I do to protect you just paints a bigger bullseye on your back. Then what do we do? I don't know. His voice cracked slightly. I don't know how to keep you safe, and keep you close. And I'm selfish enough that I don't want to let you go. Good, I said, because I'm not going anywhere. The next morning, Woo Shik's solution arrived in the form of an apartment key. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, top floor of a secured building in Hanamdong, he said, placing it in my palm. 24-hour security. Private elevator. Bulletproof windows. I stared at the key. This is too much. This is necessary. He pulled out another document, a contract. Personal assistant position. Salary is $175,000 a year. Triple what you were making as a cleaner. Woo Shik. Your father's medical debt has been paid in full as of this morning. You're free of it, Mercy. Completely free. The words didn't make sense at first. I'd lived with that debt for so long it had become part of my identity. The weight I carried. The reason I worked myself to exhaustion. I don't understand. You matter to me, he said simply. And people who matter to me don't drown in debt they didn't create. They don't work themselves sick trying to pay for a dead man's hospital bills. They don't make themselves invisible because they're afraid of being seen. My eyes burned with tears I refused to let fall. This is too much. All of it. The apartment, the salary, the debt. It's not nearly enough. He cupped my face gently. But it's what I can give you right now. Safety. Security. Freedom from the things that were crushing you. And what do you get? You. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. Here. Safe. Close enough that I can protect you, but far enough that you have your own space. Your own life. I don't want my own life, I whispered. Not if you're not in it. Something in his expression cracked. Mercy. I know this is crazy. I know we barely know each other. I know your world is dangerous and complicated and probably going to get me killed. The words tumbled out faster now. But I also know that for 9 months I was invisible and you saw me anyway. I know that when someone hurt me, you went to war. I know that you look at me like I'm worth something more than debt and exhaustion and surviving. You are worth something more, he said fiercely. You're worth everything. Then let me choose this.
Choose you.
All of it. The danger, the complications, the war you're fighting. I held his gaze. Let me stay. You don't know what you're asking. Then tell me. Show me. Let me decide if it's too much.
So he did.
Over the next 4 weeks, Woo Shik showed me his world completely. Not just the violence and the power plays, but the mundane reality of it. The endless meetings and negotiations. The phone calls at 3 a.m. because someone stepped out of line. The careful balance of fear and respect that kept his empire running. I moved into the new apartment, but spent most nights at his penthouse anyway. Learned the rhythms of his life. Early mornings reviewing reports, afternoons handling problems, evenings hosting meetings that were really interrogations. Daniel visited often, bringing food and concern in equal measure. You know this can't end well, right? He said one evening, watching me dress for another dinner meeting. People like Kim Woo Shik, they don't get happy endings. Maybe not, I admitted. But I'd rather have this, whatever this is, than spend the rest of my life wondering what if. That's the debt talking. The gratitude. You think you owe him. I don't think I owe him anything. I turned to face my brother. I know what he is, Daniel. I've seen it. I've watched him hurt people, make decisions that would horrify most people. And yes, he paid off Dad's debt and gave me this apartment and this job. But that's not why I'm staying. Then why? Because he sees me. The words came out quiet but certain. For 9 months, I made myself invisible, and he saw me anyway. And when someone tried to make me disappear permanently, he refused to let that happen. I paused. Maybe it won't last. Maybe it'll end badly. But right now, for the first time in my life, I feel like I exist. Like I matter. And I'm not giving that up. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled me into a hug, careful of my healing ribs. Okay, he said. Okay. But if he hurts you, he won't. If he hurts you, Daniel continued firmly, mafia boss or not, I'm coming for him. I laughed despite myself.
Deal.
6 weeks after the attack, Dr. Han cleared me for normal activity. My ribs had healed. The bruises had faded. The physical scars were minimal. But everything else had changed. That night, Woo Shik took me to the rooftop of his building. Seoul spread below us like a carpet of lights, beautiful and dangerous and alive. Choi Jin-ho is dead, he said without preamble. Internal conflict. His own family turned on him 3 days ago. I processed this information. And his territory is up for grabs. Everyone's making plays. Jiwon thinks we should expand, take Itaewon while it's vulnerable. He turned to face me. But I'm not going to. Why not? Because the moment I decide territory is more important than stability, I become like him. Like every other boss fighting for scraps. He stepped closer. And because I've learned that some things matter more than power. Like what? Like this. He gestured between us. Like being able to stand on this rooftop with you without wondering if someone's going to put a bullet through the window. Like coming home to something other than fear and violence and endless games. You're still a mafia boss, Woo Shik. That doesn't just go away because you don't expand territory. I know. His hand found mine. But I can choose what kind of boss I am. What I prioritize. How I use what I have. And what do you have? You. He said it simply. If you'll stay. I thought we already established that I'm staying. We established that you're staying in Seoul. In the apartment. Working for me. His eyes held mine. I'm asking if you'll stay with me. Really with me. Knowing what that means. Knowing that people will always see you as a weakness. That being with me puts you in danger every single day. That there will be nights I come home with blood on my hands and decisions I can't talk about. Yes, I said. To all of it. Yes. You're sure? Woo Shik. I stepped closer, put my hand over his heart. I watched you torture 2 men and didn't run. I sat through dinner with your enemy and didn't flinch. I've seen your world, and I'm still here. I paused. The question isn't if I'm sure. The question is, are you? Because once I'm really in, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to be the weakness you can sacrifice to save your empire. I'm going to be the thing you fight for even when it doesn't make sense. I know. His arms came around me carefully. That's what terrifies me. Good. I tilted my face up to his. We should both be a little terrified. When he kissed me this time, it wasn't careful or tentative. It was hungry and desperate and full of all the things we hadn't said. All the ways we'd changed each other in 6 weeks. All the futures we were choosing despite the danger. We stood on that rooftop until dawn, watching Seoul wake up beneath us. Somewhere in that city, people were making plays for power, fighting wars, destroying each other for territory and pride. And up here, we were just two people who'd found each other in violence and decided to stay anyway. Do you regret it? I asked as the sun started to rise. That they attacked me that night? I regret that you were hurt, Woo Shik said. I regret that you were afraid, that you bled. He pulled me closer. But I can't regret that it brought you into my life completely. That it made me see you. Does that make me selfish? Probably. I leaned into his warmth. But I'm selfish too. Because part of me is glad it happened. Glad that something finally broke through the invisibility. Even if the cost was pain. We were built on violence, he said quietly. But we're sustained by choice. I looked up at him. Every day, we choose this. Choose each other. That's what matters. 3 months later, I stood in Woo Shik's office reviewing contracts when Jiwon brought news of another territorial dispute. Some mid-level family trying to push into Gangnam, testing boundaries, seeing how far they could go. What do you think? Woo Shik asked me. Not Jiwon.
Me.
It had become our routine. He still made the final decisions, but he asked my opinion first. Listened when I pointed out alternatives to violence. Considered options he wouldn't have seen before. I think, I said carefully, that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Let them push. Let them think they're winning. And when they overextend. I left the sentence unfinished. Woo Shik smiled. When they overextend, they become vulnerable. Exactly. Jiwon looked between us, something like approval in his eyes. She's good at this. She's good at a lot of things, Woo Shik said, and the way he looked at me made my heart race. After Jiwon left, Woo Shik pulled me into his lap, buried his face in my neck. I love you, he said quietly. I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first moment I saw your injuries. Maybe before that, watching you disappear into corners for 9 months. But I love you, Mercy. And it terrifies me. I love you too, I whispered back. And it should terrify you. Because I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Good. His arms tightened around me. I'm counting on it. That night, lying in his bed with Seoul's lights painting shadows across the ceiling, I thought about the girl I'd been 6 months ago. Invisible. Drowning. Making herself small to survive. She wouldn't recognize who I'd become. This woman who advised mafia bosses and stood in rooms full of dangerous men without flinching. Who'd learned to navigate violence and power with the same care she'd once used to clean penthouse floors. But maybe that girl had always been here, just waiting for someone to see her. What are you thinking? Woo Shik asked in the darkness. That I should have fallen on those metro stairs months ago. He turned to face me. Don't say that. Why not? If I hadn't been attacked, you never would have seen me. I'd still be invisible. I saw you before, he said firmly. I just didn't know what to do about it. The attack just forced my hand. Made me admit what I'd been ignoring. And what was that? That you'd been haunting me for months. That I looked for you in empty rooms. That I noticed when you rearranged my books or left the windows open just enough to let in air. He touched my face gently. You were never invisible to me, Mercy. I just let you think you were, because it was easier than admitting I was falling for my housekeeper. Your very underpaid housekeeper. I corrected. Which I've since corrected. By paying off my debt and tripling my salary and giving me an apartment and making me your advisor. Like I said. He kissed my forehead. I've corrected it. We lay there in comfortable silence, and I realized this was what I'd been missing all along. Not safety or money or freedom from debt. though those things mattered.
But this.
Being seen, being known, being chosen. Woo Shik. Yes. Thank you. For what? For seeing me, even when I was trying to be invisible. I paused. For making me want to be seen. His arms tightened around me. Thank you for staying, even when it would have been safer to run. I'll always stay, I promised. Even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it's dangerous. Even when. I know. He kissed me softly. I'm counting on it. Outside, Seoul continued its endless dance of power and violence and survival. Territory changed hands. Families rose and fell. The game continued as it always had, as it always would. But up here, in this moment, we were just two people who'd found each other in darkness and decided to be each other's light. I'd been invisible for 9 months. Then 4 minutes of violence changed everything. And now, lying here in the arms of Seoul's most dangerous man, I'd never felt more seen in my entire life. Some love stories start with meet cuties and coffee dates. Ours started with broken ribs and blood-stained rain. But maybe that's fitting. Maybe the only way to build something real is to start with something raw. Something that strips away all pretense and leaves only truth. They wanted to send a message. Instead, they gave him a reason to start a war. And me? I became the thing worth burning the city down for. But more than that, I became the thing worth choosing peace for. Worth changing for. Worth building something different for. That's the real story. Not the violence or the danger or the power plays. It's the story of how being seen saved me. How choosing each other saved us both. How love, real, dangerous, complicated love, can grow even in the darkest soil. My name is Mercy Johnson, and this is how I stopped being invisible. Alright, K-Soul fam, real talk. We've reached the end, but I need to know, was Mercy's choice brave or reckless? Would you have stayed or run? Drop your thoughts below, because this ending is hitting different. And if this story got you in your feelings, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories. It means the world to me. Thanks for watching.